The vast expanse of the Milky Way has always been a frontier of mystery and discovery for humanity. Among the countless exoplanets discovered over the decades, few have captivated human curiosity like Zeta-9, a glimmering jewel in the Zeta Reticuli, a star system located 57 light-years from Earth. Unlike the many rocky worlds, gas giants, and frozen wastelands catalogued by explorers, Zeta-9 presented a breathtaking anomaly, a planet entirely covered in crystalline formations. From orbit, it appeared as though the planet's surface was alive with shimmering light, pulsating like the heartbeat of a colossal, sentient being. This dazzling vista ignited fervent debate within the scientific community. Could Zeta-9 be home to a completely alien form of life, unlike anything humanity had encountered before? The question was bold, the challenge immense, and so the pioneer starship Europa was launched, a monumental effort to uncover the secrets of this enigmatic world. The Europa was humanity's crowning achievement, a vessel equipped with cutting-edge technology and designed for interstellar exploration. Powered by antimatter propulsion and outfitted with advanced artificial intelligence, the ship carried a team of 25 highly trained experts: astrophysicists, xenobiologists, geologists, linguists, and mathematicians, all leaders in their respective fields. Their mission was clear: to explore Zeta-9 and unravel the mysteries of its crystalline surface. After a decade-long journey through the void of space, the crew awoke from stasis to find Zeta-9 looming large on the monitors. The planet was breathtaking, its surface sparkling under the light of its twin suns, casting rainbow hues into the cold emptiness of space. But even from orbit, Zeta-9 defied expectations. Initial scans revealed an atmosphere rich in argon and helium, with trace amounts of exotic elements that confounded chemical analysis. Most surprising of all was the lack of conventional geological activity. The planet emitted no heat, and its magnetic field oscillated unpredictably, unlike any natural planet observed before. As the Europa settled into orbit, the crew began their investigation with cautious optimism. Orbital drones were deployed to gather preliminary data. These mechanical explorers transmitted stunning imagery: fields of jagged crystals that stretched endlessly across the horizon, caverns filled with luminous stalactites, and sprawling plateaus adorned with towering spires of translucent quartz. The drones also recorded faint hums and electromagnetic pulses emanating from the crystals, as though the planet itself were singing. But the further the drones ventured, the stranger the readings became. Instruments began malfunctioning, and video feeds grew distorted. Several drones disappeared entirely, vanishing without a trace. What little data they transmitted suggested an otherworldly phenomenon. The crystals seemed to interact with the drones, reacting to their presence as if aware of their surroundings. This discovery sent ripples of excitement and unease through the Europa's crew. Could these crystalline formations truly be alive? The first manned descent to Zeta-9 was an event meticulously planned and executed with the highest level of caution. The landing site was chosen near a massive crystalline formation that the crew had nicknamed the Spire. Standing over a mile tall, the spire was an architectural marvel, its surface composed of interlocking hexagonal crystals that pulsed faintly with a blue light. As the landing craft descended, the interference experienced by the drones began, affecting the onboard systems. Navigation became erratic, and communication with the Europa was sporadic. When the craft finally touched down, the team was greeted by an otherworldly sight. The ground was a mosaic of shimmering crystals, each emitting a faint glow. The air was heavy with a subtle vibration, a low-frequency hum that seemed to originate from the planet itself. Dr. Elena Marquez, the mission's lead xenobiologist, was the first to set foot on the surface. Her initial report was simple yet profound. "It feels alive." The team quickly began their work, deploying equipment to measure the crystal's composition, electromagnetic activity, and structural integrity. What they found was astonishing. The crystals were not purely inorganic. Embedded within their lattice structures were microscopic filaments that resembled neural networks. These filaments pulsed faintly with electrical signals, suggesting that the crystals could process information. Furthermore, when a sample was carefully extracted and broken, it began to regenerate, growing new crystalline structures to replace the damaged area. This regenerative ability, combined with their electromagnetic emissions, led Dr. Marquez to propose a groundbreaking theory. The crystals were a form of life, but one that defied traditional definitions. They were neither plant nor animal, but something entirely alien. This revelation was both exhilarating and unsettling. If the crystals were alive, what role did they play in Zeta-9's ecosystem? Were they independent organisms or part of a larger, unified entity? As the team explored further, they began noticing patterns in the crystal's behavior. Some formations glowed more intensely as the crew approached, while others dimmed, almost as if retreating. The low-frequency hum fluctuated, forming rhythms that seemed deliberate. Dr. Janeway, the mission's mathematician, was tasked with analyzing these patterns. His findings were extraordinary. The rhythms followed complex algorithms, including fractals and Fibonacci sequences. These aren't just reactions, he concluded, they're communications. The implications were staggering. If the crystals were communicating, who or what were they speaking to? And more importantly, could humanity learn to understand them? To test this hypothesis, the team constructed a device capable of emitting controlled electromagnetic pulses designed to mimic the crystal's natural emissions. The response was immediate. The crystals began rearranging themselves, forming intricate geometric patterns on the ground. The team's next breakthrough came during their exploration of the spire. Using advanced drones, they mapped its interior, uncovering a labyrinth of tunnels and chambers. At the heart of the spire was a central chamber containing a crystal formation, unlike anything they had encountered. This core crystal, as they called it, was a multifaceted structure that emitted an intense, shifting array of colors and sounds. Its energy readings were off the charts, suggesting it was the most active and possibly the most intelligent part of the crystalline network. When the team activated their electromagnetic emitter, the core crystal responded with a burst of light that illuminated the entire chamber. Instruments recorded a surge of activity spreading from the core crystal to the planet's surface. From orbit, the Europa captured stunning images of the crystals rearranging themselves into massive geometric patterns visible across entire continents. The patterns were not random. They resembled ancient human symbols, including spirals, glyphs, and shapes that bore a striking resemblance to early Earth languages like Sumerian and Mayan. The discovery left the team awestruck. How could a planet 57 light-years from Earth produce symbols that mirrored humanity's ancient cultures? The question defied logic but hinted at a deeper connection. Was it possible that Zeta-9 had influenced Earth's early civilizations? Or was there a shared origin, a cosmic thread linking humanity to this crystalline world? The crew's excitement was tempered by the realization that they had only scratched the surface of Zeta-9's mysteries. The core crystal's energy readings continued to climb, indicating that something profound was happening. The climax of the mission came when the core crystal emitted a beam of light into the sky, piercing Zeta-9's atmosphere and extending into the depths of space. Moments later, the Europa detected a signal from deep within the Zeta Reticuli system. The signal was a repeating sequence of pulses, unmistakably artificial and eerily similar to a distress call. The crew realized that Zeta-9 was not just a living planet, but a sentient entity attempting to communicate with something, or someone, far beyond its surface. This revelation raised more questions than answers. Who was the signal intended for? And what would happen when it was received? The beam of light emanating from the core crystal seemed to energize the entire planet. The rhythmic pulses intensified, creating a symphony of frequencies that resonated through every crystalline structure on Zeta-9. The Europa's instruments detected the phenomenon as a planet-wide event, with electromagnetic waves spreading outward, into space. On the surface, the crew stood in awe as the crystals began shifting and transforming, rearranging into even more complex geometric patterns. The ground itself seemed to ripple like water, yet it remained solid beneath their feet. Dr. Elena Marquez's voice trembled as she recorded her observations. "The crystals are responding to something beyond us," she said. "It's as if the entire planet is alive and aware of an external presence." For the first time, the crew felt not as explorers, but as uninvited guests in a world that was far more sentient than they had anticipated. As the rhythmic pulses continued, the electromagnetic interference around the spire intensified. Communication with the Europa became sporadic, and several instruments began to malfunction. Dr. Jian Wei worked furiously to analyze the patterns, searching for meaning in the chaos. His findings were both shocking and exhilarating. "The pulses are not random," he announced to the team. "They follow a sequence that mirrors prime number distributions. This isn't just communication. It's a message, structured, deliberate, and intelligent." The realization sent shivers through the team. If the crystals were sending a message, who was the intended recipient? And why now, after billions of years of apparent dormancy? These questions hung heavy in the air as the crew prepared to delve deeper into the spire. The decision to send a team into the depths of the spire was not made lightly. The electromagnetic interference posed a significant risk, but the potential rewards were too great to ignore. Dr. Marquez, Dr. Wei, and Commander Alex Hartman led the expedition, equipped with advanced exosuits designed to withstand the intense energy fields. As they descended through the crystalline tunnels, the air grew colder, and the hum of the crystals grew louder, almost deafening. The walls around them seemed to pulse with light, casting shifting shadows that created the illusion of movement. At one point, Marquez stopped abruptly, her voice barely a whisper over the comms. "The crystals. They're watching us." The others dismissed her words as nerves, but deep down, they felt the same unease. Reaching the core chamber was like stepping into another dimension. The room was vast, its walls lined with crystalline formations that sparkled like stars in a night sky. At the center stood the core crystal, radiating light and energy in a mesmerizing display. The team approached cautiously, their instruments overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of the crystal's emissions. Wei was the first to notice the symbols. Etched into the walls of the chamber were intricate patterns that mirrored the geometric formations observed on the surface. But these symbols were more detailed, more deliberate, and disturbingly familiar. "This can't be a coincidence," Wei muttered. "These symbols, they resemble ancient Earth languages. But how is that possible?" Marquez's mind raced as she scanned the chamber, searching for answers. She activated a holographic projector, overlaying the symbols onto known human languages. The results were startling. The patterns shared similarities with Sumerian, Egyptian hieroglyphs, and even the carvings of the Nazca lines in Peru. The implications were staggering. Had Zeta-9 somehow influenced early human civilizations? Or was there a common origin, a cosmic connection that tied humanity to this alien world? The questions multiplied as the core crystal began to glow brighter, its pulses growing faster and more intense. The team realized that their presence had triggered something, an activation sequence that could not be undone. As the core crystal reached peak activity, the Europa's sensors detected a massive energy surge emanating from the spire. From orbit, the planet's surface appeared to ripple as the crystalline formations rearranged themselves once again. The patterns now formed vast, interconnected networks that spanned entire continents. The Europa's AI struggled to process the data, flagging the event as an unprecedented anomaly. Captain Adrian Cole, monitoring the situation from the ship, issued a warning to the surface team. "We're detecting a massive buildup of energy. You need to evacuate immediately." But Marquez and her team hesitated. "We can't leave now," she argued. "We're on the verge of understanding something monumental. If we go now, we might lose everything." The tension between discovery and survival reached its breaking point when the core crystal emitted a burst of energy that knocked the team off their feet. Instruments failed, and the chamber was plunged into darkness, illuminated only by the faint glow of the crystals. A low, resonant sound filled the air, unlike anything the team had heard before. It was not random noise. It was a voice. The core crystal was speaking. The sound bypassed their ears, resonating directly in their minds. "You have awakened the cycle," it said. "The connection has been restored." The team exchanged panicked glances as the meaning of the words sank in. Whatever they had triggered, it was far beyond their understanding or control. Back on the Europa, the crew scrambled to make sense of the unfolding events. The ship's AI detected a signal originating from deep within the Zeta Reticuli system, identical to the one emitted by the core crystal. But this time, the signal was answered. A new pulse, more powerful and deliberate, echoed across the void, traveling directly toward Zeta-9. The implications were chilling. The crystals were not alone. They were part of something much larger, a network or collective consciousness that spanned the stars. Captain Cole ordered the immediate retrieval of the surface team, but the interference made communication nearly impossible. The ship's sensors picked up a massive object approaching from the system's outer reaches, a structure so large it dwarfed the E. The crystalline terrain seemed to shift beneath their feet, as if resisting their departure. The patterns on the ground grew more intricate, forming shapes that pulsed with an otherworldly rhythm. The core crystal's voice echoed in their minds again, more urgent this time. The cycle cannot be broken. The connection must be completed. The team finally reached the landing craft, but as they ascended, the view from above revealed the full scale of the phenomenon. The planet's surface was now a living mosaic of light and energy, a vast, interconnected system that pulsed in harmony with the signal from the approaching structure. The Europa managed to recover the team just as the massive object entered orbit around Zeta-9. Its appearance was unlike anything humanity had ever encountered, a colossal, ring-shaped vessel that seemed to defy the laws of physics. The ship's surface was covered in the same crystalline formations as Zeta-9, suggesting a direct connection between the two. As the vessel positioned itself above the spire, a beam of light connected the two structures, creating a bridge of energy that spanned the atmosphere. The Europa's crew watched in awe and terror as the events unfolded. Marquez, still reeling from her experience in the core chamber, whispered the question on everyone's mind. "What have we unleashed?" The colossal vessel remained suspended, above Zeta-9, its crystalline surface pulsating in sync with the energy bridge connecting it to the spire. On board the Europa, the crew scrambled to understand the nature of the ship and its intentions. Captain Adrian Cole issued a ship-wide alert, preparing the Europa for immediate evacuation if the situation escalated further. But where could they go? The sheer magnitude of the alien vessel dwarfed their exploration ship, and its presence seemed to dominate the entire star system. Dr. Jian Wei was frantically analyzing the pulses emanating from the bridge, trying to decipher their meaning. "These patterns," he muttered, his fingers flying over the holographic interface, "they're repeating sequences, like an exchange of information. It's as if they're communicating directly with the planet itself." The realization sent chills through the crew. Zeta-9 was not just a host to these crystalline formations. It was an integral part of a vast interstellar network. On the surface, the core crystal continued to emit waves of light and sound, resonating with the approaching vessel. Dr. Elena Marquez, still shaken from her encounter in the core chamber, watched from the Europa's observation deck as the planet seemed to transform before her eyes. "We've misunderstood everything," she said, her voice trembling. "Zeta-9 isn't just a planet. It's a node, a part of something much greater, And now the network is waking up. Her words hung in the air, a heavy reminder of the unknown forces they had unleashed. Meanwhile, the ship's AI struggled to process the influx of data. The readings were unlike anything it had encountered, pushing its computational capacity to the brink. Captain Cole ordered a full diagnostic, but the AI responded with an ominous warning. External interference is compromising system integrity. Immediate action required. As the alien vessel continued its synchronization with Zeta-9, the crew noticed another alarming development. The patterns on the planet's surface began to spread outward, forming intricate geometric shapes that extended beyond the atmosphere. These shapes took the form of vast, interconnected grids, each glowing with a faint, ethereal light. From the Europa's vantage point, it appeared as though Zeta-9 was weaving a cosmic web, its strands reaching into the void of space. "It's not just communicating," Dr. John Way said, his voice tinged with awe and fear. "It's building something." The implications were staggering. Was Zeta-9 constructing a gateway, a signal amplifier, or something far more incomprehensible? The crew could only speculate, their imaginations running wild with the possibilities. Inside the core chamber, the energy levels reached critical intensity. The crystalline walls began to shift and rearrange themselves, forming patterns that seemed to ripple with purpose. Dr. Marquez and her team, still reeling from their encounter with the core crystal, reviewed the data they had gathered. "These symbols," Marquez said, pointing to the holographic projections. "They're not just patterns, they're instructions. The core is trying to tell us something." But as she spoke, the chamber began to shake violently, as if the planet itself was reacting to the alien vessel above. The team barely made it back to the landing craft as massive crystal formations erupted from the ground, creating barriers that forced them to navigate an increasingly treacherous path. The urgency of their escape was palpable. Convened an emergency meeting with the senior officers and scientific team. The discussion was heated, with tensions running high. Dr. Jianwei argued for immediate evacuation, citing the unpredictable nature of the alien vessel and the transformations occurring on Zeta-9. "We're in over our heads," he said bluntly. "This is a phenomenon beyond human comprehension, and staying here puts us at unnecessary risk." But Dr. Marquez disagreed. "If we leave now, we may never understand what we've discovered," she countered. "This could be the most important moment in human history. We can't just walk away from it." Captain Cole listened to both sides before making her decision. "We stay," she said firmly, "but we proceed with extreme caution. Our priority is to gather as much data as possible and ensure the safety of the crew." As the Europa adjusted its orbit to maintain a stable position, the alien vessel began to emit a new type of signal, one that seemed to resonate directly with the human nervous system. Crew members reported strange sensations, tingling in their extremities, flashes of light in their peripheral vision, and an overwhelming sense of being observed. The ship's medical team worked tirelessly to monitor these symptoms, but their findings only deepened the mystery. "The signal isn't harmful," Dr. Marquez said during a briefing. "If anything, it's trying to establish a connection with us. But why?" The question lingered as the crew grappled with their growing unease. Meanwhile, the planet below continued its transformation, its crystalline surface now pulsating with a rhythm that matched the alien vessel's signals. The climax came when the core crystal emitted a burst of energy that enveloped the Europa in a field of light. The crew braced themselves for the worst, expecting catastrophic damage, but instead, the field stabilized around the ship, creating a bridge of light that connected it to the alien vessel. The Europa's systems began to flicker, and the AI issued a new warning. "Unauthorized access detected. External system integration in progress." Panic spread through the crew as they realized the implications. The alien network was attempting to interface directly with the Europa, using it as a conduit to complete its connection with Zeta-9. "We need to sever the connection," Captain Cole ordered. "Prepare for an emergency system shutdown." Dr. Marquez, however, saw an opportunity. "If we let this continue," she argued, "we might be able to communicate with them, truly communicate. This is our chance to understand what's happening." Her proposal was met with resistance, but Captain Cole ultimately agreed to let the process play out under strict monitoring. The crew watched in stunned silence as the alien network integrated with the Europa's systems, creating a shared interface that displayed incomprehensible streams of data. But as the process continued, a new message appeared on the monitors. "The cycle must be completed. You are the final piece." The weight of those words sent a chill through the room. What did the aliens mean? And what role did humanity play in this cosmic cycle? The final moments of the mission were a blur of chaos and revelation. The alien vessel began to glow with an intensity that rivaled a star, its crystalline surface radiating energy that bathed the entire star system in light. The Europa's crew worked frantically to maintain control of their ship, but the integration with the alien network made it impossible. As the core crystal reached its peak activity, a massive portal opened above Zeta-9, its swirling depths revealing glimpses of otherworldly landscapes and structures. The crew realized too late that they were not just observers in this event, they were participants. The portal was a gateway, and the Europa was being drawn into it.